Hello everyone, and welcome back to another GIS mathematics tutorial video. And in this video, I want to talk about what happens when we take the ellipse and we move it away from the origin. And what I mean by that is what happens when our ellipse is no longer centered at 0, 0, right? When the major and minor axes are no longer the coordinate system, x and y axis. What happens? What happens to the standard equation, and what happens to what these coordinates represent. So let's start off by talking about the standard equation. Right, when we start to shift things away from the origin, we get this h and this k parameter, which is something we haven't seen yet. And just sort of going to jump ahead here, right? H and k represent how far away we've moved the center of the ellipse from the origin. So in this case, h, right? So our origin is now no longer centered at 0, 0. Right now it's centered at h, comma, k. Right? We've gone over in the x-axis h amount, and we've gone up in the y-axis k amount, and that's why we have h and k here. So that explains what these parameters are, right? We see that a squared and b squared are still the same, and we haven't changed that because we haven't changed the distance between the center and the vertices and co-vertices, right? These distances are still the same. We've just shifted everything over and up by h and k. But what we have done is we've changed what the coordinates of the vertices and co-vertices are, right? The distance between the center and the vertex is different, but just like the coordinate of the center is different, the coordinate of the vertex is different. And I want to talk about what that means. Right? So in the previous videos, we sort of defined the distance between the center of the ellipse and the vertice as a, either the x-coordinate or the y-coordinate, depending on if this was horizontal or vertical. But in this case, it's horizontal, so we defined this distance as the x-coordinate. Right? So previously this would have been a comma 0. Right? This would have been a comma 0, but now, right, it's no longer a comma 0, because to get here, not only do we have to go from the center of the ellipse over a, but we also have to go that additional h, right? We had to go h to get to here, right? We had to go h to get to here, and we have to go an additional a to get to here. So the x-coordinate of this is now a plus h, and then our y-coordinate is going to be k, right? It's no longer 0 now, it's going to be k. So that's to get to here. Well, what about this vertex, right? If you remember in the previous videos when we talked about these, right, we said that because our center was at the origin, right, our right vertex, as it were, was a, and then our left vertex was negative a. Well, that's not quite the case anymore. Right? Now, this vertex right here, right, to get to here, right, we have to go h units out and a units back. So in sort of arithmetic, right, this is now h minus a. Right, and this is still k, right? So the same distance up. So this is still k. Right? So let's sort of formalize that. So vertices now have coordinates of a plus h comma k and h minus a comma k, right? And so you can see here now, if we were given vertices, right, and we wanted to get a, we would have to monkey around with with the vertices. We can no longer just take the coordinate directly because we're no longer centered at the origin. And the same thing is true for the foci, right? This distance from the center to the foci, we defined that as c, right? But now, just like with the vertex, right now it's c plus h, comma k, right? Because we're still that same distance up. And likewise, this is now h minus c, comma k, right? Because we go out to h and then go back c to get here. So our foci are coordinates c plus h comma k and h minus c comma k. So then finally, right, we have the covertices. The covertices suffer from the same thing, but they're suffering in the y direction, right? Because before we said if you go from the center to one of the covertices, that was b, right? This distance we defined was b. Well, now it's not just b, right? It's up here, it's b plus k, right? And down here, right, you would go up k and you'd go back b. So this is k minus b. Oh, sorry. That would be in the y, not the x. So it would actually be comma k minus b. And then the x, right, just like how this was k in the y, right, the x for these would both be h because we're going out along the x-axis the same distance. So we can do covertices are h comma b plus k and h comma k minus b. So hopefully you can see where we're going to start to have to play around a little bit with these vertices to get out a and b. We can't just use the vertex values directly. So hopefully that made sense. Hopefully you see now where these shifts happened and hopefully understand why they happened. If any of this video was confusing, I encourage you to pause, go back, rewatch the parts you're confused about. And as always, please reach out. Thank you.